closely. You knew me, don't know me, at least that's what you told me again. You said you loved to owe me, but things changed, you became lonely. I'm sorry, I'm only a man. I need that moolah, champagne, world tour, that campaign, that crew I came up with to make sure I can't change. Give back to my people, give back to my fam, give back to the studio and give back to my fans. Amen, amen, 2:30 a.m. You sleeping on a youngin', I be sleeping when I'm dead. If I don't sleep when I'm behind, and I won't sleep when I'm ahead. My competition in the mirror, I'm competing till the end. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
You really let this one play for a while.
Oh, you know.
Congratulations to the campaign, winner of the Packy Bracket Challenge.
Young nostalgia.
Feels like that happened a long time ago because it was a full week. Also, congratulations to Villanova for taking down Michigan in the actual national championship. Thank God.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
They were just the better team.
Yeah.
The campaign was just the better song.
That's been around the longest.
Yep.
Podcast 12, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Podcast 12. Yeah, so we have a big topic today that we wanted to discuss last week and came prepared to discuss today.
Did we?
Well,
You did?
I did. Did you?
I always come prepared.
I don't think so.
I got all this knowledge.
Okay, so we're talking about, we're talking about 99 to, let's just call it 2000s hip hop, 2000 to 2010, and then 90s, right? Hip hop and R&B.
I didn't know we were putting some specific date on it. I thought we were just saying.
Wasn't that the era though that we were talking about? Because
I thought we were saying what is the best.
Because we were talking about because we grew up in a specific era, we think that it's better.
Yeah, so we're just saying in general, what's the best era of hip? It's not like hip hop's been around since 1900. So
no, I know, but there's two specific big eras of it. There's the era that we grew up in, really listening to music, and then there's the era that we didn't.
We can talk about that. You start the conversation if that's where you're headed.
Well, what did you think that it was?
Just in general, what's the best era of hip hop? What's the best time period?
I mean, we can go that route.
Yeah,
too.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I was just trying to say that it could be because of nostalgia, and that's why we think a certain way.
And that's what we want to get down to as well.
Right. So, self-admittedly, I did a lot of research on this over the week, but I am not too familiar with R&B. I can't.
Yeah, forget R&B.
I can't.
No, didn't we say that?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if we were going to go forward with that.
Yeah, forget R&B. If we want to do that, we'll make it a separate category.
We need to establish definitions here because, like, what are we considering best being? Like, is it your personal opinion or is it like based off of?
To be honest, I've seen so many people try to get down to these debates, and
But that's why I feel like it's important to set definitions.
But I don't think you necessarily. Okay, so I'll just start, I guess, and maybe I won't go all the way into it, but because I was thinking about that best, favorite, whatever, and obviously at the end of the day, it is favorite because we're just having a discussion about our opinions, and it's not fact. So at the end of the day, whatever we decide on is technically going to be favorite.
Okay,
as far as opinion goes,
right?
I don't think it should. I think the most objective conversation you can have about this is to not say best, not say favorite, but say greatest. Because when I was looking at it and trying to get down to, what are the best projects? And I'm gonna throw best whatever out here. So don't crucify me with whatever words I'm using. But what are the best albums and like who are the best rappers and all this stuff. And it can get so subjective that it's just like a stupid debate to have if you start talking about, for example, if you start talking about how Nas is a better rapper than Jay-Z.
Okay.
Because I am one that would say Nas is a better rapper than Jay-Z.
Okay.
Jay-Z to me is a far greater rapper because of what he's done for rap.
As far as influence and everything that.
I think one of the biggest things is longevity. There's some really...
Or could you say mass appeal?
Yeah, mass appeal. I think that is a big factor.
Right.
Because anyone can go say, nah, like Big L is the best rapper of all time.
Right.
But he's not, if you're doing like a top 5, like greatest, he's not even close because he just didn't have the staying power and the longevity and the mass appeal.
Right.
So I think, to me, that's the argument I want to have. That's the debate I want to have. Are you on the same page?
Yeah, we can.
And obviously, skill and favoritism are going to play a role. But as far as the general rule,
well, and personal like preference.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was finding when I was researching this over the week. Is it is kind of like if you're literally going for greatest, you get to a point where you have to either make a decision that can't necessarily be based in fact.
Of course, that's why this is an ongoing, never-ending debate.
Right, but there are certain facts that lead me up to a certain belief that I could.
So do you want to get into that? What did you determine?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I saw is in the 90s, hip hop wasn't mainstream. So you didn't have a lot of this influence back in the day, and you didn't have social media either.
Right.
Twitter came about in like 2006 or something like that.
Right.
So here's my biggest thing about hip hop in the 90s versus the 2000s. It might have been, I can see how people in the 90s would think that it was better back then because of the fact that not everybody got in. So there was a sort of like higher standard to what was let in and popularized than today because of social media and just the absurd amount of music based off of streaming services and everything like that is being let into the limelight, so to speak. You didn't have any of that in the 90s. So when people say the 90s hip hop was better, they might technically be right because of the fact that any sort of person that like not copied but like trended towards somebody else's style or anything like that was not let in super easily.
Right.
So they would be clowned back in the 90s and they would never be listened to.
I think that's an important point you're making right off the bat, which is something I was thinking about. Is 90s early hip hop had already had a strike against it compared to hip hop now because of, like you said, it wasn't mainstream music.
Right. And
there wasn't social media. Because if you think about rappers, you think of like big, interesting personalities. Like they have flavor. And that's allowed to thrive in the social media age.
Yep.
Whereas not necessarily before that.
Right.
That being said, that age of hip hop had the advantage to me of mystique.
Right. Yeah.
You look at like artists nowadays, you literally, not literally, I guess there's a few that can, but for the most part, especially as you're coming up, you have to be present on social media and do interviews and show your face.
Right.
And constantly be relevant.
Right.
Now, once you get on, you can be a J. Cole and just kind of pop up when you drop an album and then go back in your hole. Back then,
Kind of.
yeah. You still
not to the extent that you could back in the day.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And you have to be a big artist now to do it. Back in the day, everyone had this mystique of, okay, everyone's signed to a label. So it's time to put out so-and-so's album. And so now everything is centered around them. Now they're popping up doing their interviews, TV shows, albums spinning on the radio, all this stuff. And then they go back and you don't hear about them. And then they get to plan their whole next marketing campaign. And there's this mystique around. Yeah. They're not, when you go to a show or you get a picture or an autograph from one of these artists, it's something super special and mystical because you don't see these people.
Yeah, for sure.
Like now you see these people every day.
Time,
you get a new picture of them on Instagram every day. They're literally talking to you on Twitter.
Right.
So there's disadvantages and advantages, I think, to each age.
But, and that's the thing is, on the other side of that coin, you go to like 2000 to 2010. And here's where we get a little weird about the preference, because social media became super prevalent right in the middle of that decade.
Right.
So you did get like because of everything that happened in the 90s with hip hop started to thrive unbelievably in the 2000s. And you have like great artists and great albums in the 2000s, like, you know, Kanye's and the I mean, that's the thing, is like you have a lot of like the high end, like really well done albums in 2000, but it couldn't exist without the work of what the 90s made possible.
Of course.
So, but because Twitter and everything didn't become prevalent until like 2005, 2006, you still get this, like what you were talking about, is this facade of like these guys are amazing up until they started to become more accessible at the end of the 2000s. And that pretty much ended that type of mentality with an artist. Like, I would probably say that Drake and artists that came up around Drake's time are the last ones that are ever going to be able to take advantage of that type of like facade type of a thing. And he is even questionable.
Right.
Like, but he was right at the tail end of all of that. He had a MySpace when he was coming up.
I know.
So he was at like the tail end of that shit, but he's probably the last one that's going to be able to be viewed in kind of that light. Because anybody else that came up after that is too accessible.
Well, I kind of compare it a little bit to like the LeBron Jordan argument. Like by the time LeBron's career is done, anyone that says you can't have a greatest of all time argument, like it's hands down Jordan, is stupid.
Yeah.
LeBron's numbers and everything, by the time his career is done, are going to be so good that you have to be able to have that argument.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be this large collection of people that say, no, Jordan, not even an argument, blah, blah, blah. But so much of that is the mystique factor.
Yes.
Jordan didn't live in the social media age. We get to see all the whackness of LeBron.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if you just saw him play basketball, it would be different. We get to see who he is and his personality and like every bad thing that happens. Jordan had bad things that happened that we just don't know about. He was whack. He was whack in certain ways. There's even certain things he did that did come out that aren't as big of a deal because they didn't get blown up by social media.
Yeah.
Like, he was he like blew shit tons of money at gambling. He was responsible for Isaiah Thomas not getting on the dream team because he was petty. He was like, I'm not playing if Isaiah doesn't play.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine if LeBron said something like that now. Like, I would be like, wow, what a little bitch.
Yeah. And it would have came out.
Yeah,
back in the, if
it would have
there
been
was
huge.
Twitter.
Yeah. But now it's just like a blip on the radar.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a similar type of comparison.
Yeah, and even and then there was another aspect too that you know, you get when you talk to older heads compared to younger guys, and and this might not necessarily be right, but there's a stigma to it as far as like music, and that's why we get like just to preface this point, the 2005 to 2010 era is a little weird because you got the aspects of 90s hip hop in 2000s as far as like what they meant and what they stood for and everything like that, and especially 2000 to like I would say 2006, 2007 or whatever. But it's beginning to have more and more of a stigma of the newer, the more you get into the 2000s, the more it was like these rappers, it's lack of effort, lack of like caring about the art of what the genre stands for. And that I can get my head around that because you have two aspects that are going at that. It's pretty much one, the style is changing, obviously, and two, music is easier to make now.
Right.
You don't have to go into the studio.
Well, that's one of the biggest things with hip hop is when did not even just social media, when did the internet become super prevalent because hip hop is one of the easiest genres of music to make without going to some professional studio. You get yourself a mic, you get,
I remember when MacBooks with the first version of Mac OS 10 with GarageBand. That's when it changed.
Yeah.
Because it was like it was so easy to like you go buy a mic, you hook it up to your Mac, you launch GarageBand, you put an instrumental in there, you put a track in there, and you're good.
Right. And then like as time went on and that was a possibility and social media becomes prevalent, I think now, I'm not talking 2005, 2010. I'm talking now, like way more recently.
Yeah.
Now you do have the problem of, so now everyone can make music.
Yep.
And now you have people blowing up off of things other than their music.
Yep.
And getting popular, but they have music and their music is what pays their bills and blah, 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 because people just buy into them and they have this music.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do look, that's one of the biggest reasons I look at this most recent generation of hip hop.
Yeah.
Like the last 3 years, something like that. And I say it isn't my favorite. And that's a big aspect of it, is because so many people, so many of the most popular guys, when you take out like just that top circle, if you just look at guys that actually came up in the last 2 to 3 years, you have so many people that blew up off of something other than their music.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make their music bad, but it means that their music didn't shine through and make them the figure that they are.
Yeah, it's more so you're attaching yourself to the person than you are the music.
Right. So if we're just grading the music, that's already a strike against. So I feel like I can definitively say for myself, that's why I wouldn't say we're in like the greatest era of hip hop right now.
No. But that's the thing, is like, as far as consumption, we are.
Yeah, but that's not the argument I want to have. Like,
no, I know.
Naturally, hip hop has become more mainstream, appealing to the masses.
But that's why I wanted to set the definition, is because I would agree with you as far as that. Like, yeah, we're in a super popular age for hip hop, and it's great. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not that great because of the fact that, and I'm older than you as far as like, I look at like, I remember that Yachty interview where he was like, get your
with
old heads out of here.
Everyday Struggle with Joe Budden.
I think it might have been the Breakfast Club.
Okay.
And it was because he was like, I don't need to like make a song with like lyric, like be a lyrical whatever and blah, blah, blah. Like, all you old heads get out of here, like blah, blah, blah. If I want to make a song that says something like 80,000 times over a dope beat, then that's what it is, and it's dope.
Yeah.
When I hear that, that's like, to me, okay, like if you just take it for what it is, and if people like it, and I get that. But
if I'm gonna be sitting here actually trying to look at your music and be like, where does it rank?
Or if you're looking for respect,
right?
Like you can't expect people to respect you.
Exactly, because that is a tough thing. It's like, yeah, if you make a song like that, where you just repeat a phrase 80 times and that's your song, and it's a dope beat, and people enjoy it and buy it, and you make money off of it, then you're absolutely right. Why would you not do that?
Right.
You're not required. You are a person that is trying to make a living and make music that you like. You are not required to do anything else.
Right.
But if I'm not required to have respect for what you're doing either. And I'm not required to rank you just because you sell records as a dope rapper.
Right. The argument that I would have taken that further, though, is it's kind of, and it's like what we just said. People attach themselves to the artist, not the music.
Yeah.
So Yachty, to me, is kind of a good example of that. Like, people buy his music because a lot of people like him.
Yeah. So, and I would say that is what a lot of this generation is, and that I think is what their talent is more than music. A lot of these guys is they are big personalities and very likable and polarizing. Like you look at like a Yachty and a Uzi and the Triple X and like all these guys, like Tekashi 6ix9ine, like they have these polarizing personalities, and kids are drawn to what they're saying and how they act and how different they are.
Yep.
So and I think there is a talent to that.
Yeah.
I think but
it's not
But if
musical,
I'm ranking,
though.
if I'm ranking that, who has good like I would say a lot of these kids, like a lot of these rappers now, these brand new guys, I would say if we're ranking marketers, they're way better than some of the old guys.
Yeah. I agree.
But rappers, no.
But when I was looking into this, I was like, man, all of a sudden, it was funny because it popped into my head. I was like, man, I have a lot of respect for Joe Budden all of a sudden, just because of the fact that, like, I take that idea a step further, and I'm like, okay, you get all these radio stations and like big time companies like Complex and like all of that represent like hip hop culture and everything, and you have these older guys that will say that they exactly what you just said. I'm not a big fan of hip hop today, but yet they're a part of radio stations and everything like that play these guys constantly.
Yeah.
So, and I got taken back by the fact I remembered Joe Budden saying he didn't like when Everyday Struggle would invite guests onto the show. And I just literally had a light bulb in my head go off being like, that's why. Because he didn't want to give these guys that he didn't believe were musically talented the light of day on his show.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think, this just popped in my head, so this could be a dumb comment. I don't know. I haven't really thought it through. So we had a slight age of where independent artists, because of the internet and stuff, independent artists were a big thing. It was like the new wave.
Yeah.
You had your Chance, your Macklemore, you know, all these guys. Do you think the relevance of independent artists has gone up and really grew? And do you think we're on a decline now? Because the reason I say that is, are labels getting hip to the independent artist thing? And as soon as someone gets some buzz, labels are actually jumping on and giving people more legitimate deals than they were in the past. And so they don't actually have a career of being an independent artist. Labels are making sure that they grab these guys. Like, for example, there's the ongoing debate of, is Chance independent right now because of all the deals he has, like partnerships on the side. And then you even have like Macklemore isn't independent anymore. Like, and then you look at popular people right now, like the Uzi and Yachty and Cardi B, they're all signed. You even look at like Russ was a huge independent artist. He has a partnership now.
Right.
There was someone else that popped in my, like obviously Logic, big independent artist, but then he signed. And like, so I think labels are getting more hip to, Nipsey Hussle just signed. He was a big, like, and I'm not saying, oh, they signed, they sold out. Like, they're signing better deals now than people that weren't signing deals 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So do you think the career independent artist or the long time independent artist, because a Nipsey Hussle, like I still, you know, someone like him, he will go down as an independent artist.
Yeah, but I need more examples of like a long time.
Right. Yeah. That just popped in my head, but it just makes me wonder, because labels are getting hip to it. And I guess that's not the debate. That could be a debate for another time.
I don't know. I would argue the opposite, because I think because hip hop is so easy to make and it's so popular that there are more independent artists, but middle class.
That's what I was just about to say then, is like, okay, so there was a period where we had some top tier artists in the game were independent.
Yes.
Now I think we're getting to a period where there won't be any top tier independent artists, but there's shit tons of next level independent artists.
Maybe, but I think there might have to be a shift. Like, I don't think rap continues down this road for a long time.
What road?
The new type of music that's being made and popularized, and
how like these buzzing people are being signed and then putting out music, and
like the Yachty's and like that type of shit. Like I don't see it. I don't see it.
You even hear how a lot of these people that like these guys and co-sign these guys, like academics. I hate academics, but like he likes that music and co-signs these guys. But he even will say, like Lil Pump, for example, who he loves, he'll say he won't be around 3 years from now.
No.
He openly says that, and he's a fan.
I think it's a trend.
Yeah.
It's a trend like everything else, but man, I forget who I was listening to, some interview. Lyricists never go away. Like, it's never faded out of hip hop. Like, hardcore lyricists, maybe, but they're trends too. Yeah. But straight up just lyricism never goes away.
Yeah, people it might have periods where it's not always the hottest
thing, correct. But it never goes away. Other things go away.
Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you always say like, who are actually the top 5 rappers right now? Like, and I mean like greatest, everything involved.
Yeah.
It's always guys that can actually rap. There might be like 1 or 2 guys thrown in the top 5 once in a while that aren't the greatest, but for the most, like right now, who would you say are the top 5? I would say Drake, lyrics.
Yep.
Kendrick, lyrics.
Yep.
J. Cole, lyrics.
Yep.
Big Sean,
lyrics.
And then you could throw in like a, I don't know, like a Future or you know,
right,
whoever the fuck is, like Tekashi, whatever. But I would probably say if you're basing it off mass appeal and who's selling records, who is actually considered a good rapper, all this
universally.
Stuff, you know who else I would throw in that 5th spot right now?
Who?
Logic.
Yeah.
He's fucking selling records like crazy.
Yeah. And he's lyrical.
That's what I'm saying. All 5 of those guys are lyrical.
He's hip hop. Like that's what he is.
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree with that. Through every phase of hip hop, people have always appreciated
the lyrical geniuses shine through despite what the trend is of the current time in hip hop.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I have just seen is and I don't know, it's kind of hard to see an end with this type of shit though, because it just keeps getting played and played and played and played and played.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just have to believe that like it can't sustain. And it's all just the same all the time.
All right, so back to the you know, I don't want to focus too much on the last 3 years of hip hop.
Right.
So I'm going to just come out and say my conclusion.
Okay.
And we can work from there. I figured, so I tried to go back and I tried to figure out, okay, because my whole objective was to say, is nostalgia a huge factor in what I would consider what's the best hip hop? What's the greatest era of hip hop? Okay.
Yep.
So basically what I just did is let me go figure out what I think is the greatest era of hip hop and then say, what years was that? And how does it correlate to what my nostalgia factor would be?
Okay.
And you know what I found?
What?
If I had to place like a 5, 6, 7 year period of the greatest era of hip hop to me, I figured, I said like 2017 or 2007 to 2013. And then I thought, how does that correlate to me? Right, it's smack dab in the middle of nostalgia factor of like high school, college, when I'm listening to tons of music and forming my...
Give me some albums.
Okay, so like 2000, so I said 2007 to 2013, right around there. And the reason I say that is because, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So I thought of like, who are the greatest rappers of all time, right?
Okay.
And I tried to really make like a short list. Okay. So one of the biggest things, and we can have a debate about this a separate time. One of the biggest things I think is people just fall into this in hip hop too easily. Biggie and Pac, to me, if you're talking about a short list of greatest rappers of all time, and I specify that word greatest. Everyone can have their preference on favorite or best. Greatest.
Right.
They just don't have, like, they died in their prime.
Right.
Like, they don't have the catalog. It's disrespectful. To me, it's disrespectful of Eminem, Kanye, Jay-Z. It's disrespectful to put Pac and Biggie ahead of them
for sure.
in a greatest list because these guys have done it for so long.
Hit after hit after hit.
So me saying that, it's no knock on Biggie and Pac. Like, no, they're dope rappers, but I think they become doper in everyone's mind from a mystical standpoint of because they died in their prime.
Yeah.
And then they just also, they might have, like, look at Eminem, for example. What if he died after the Eminem show?
Yeah.
Like,
true.
because look at his downward spiral of people's opinions of
and
him
then
now.
they would honor him to the highest extent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what if, even though Kanye to me still has dope ass albums, like, what if he died after like Graduation, or even my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? Like, legend then. But so if I had to make the shortest list possible of the greatest rappers of all time, I'm saying, to me, the top 3 is Eminem, Kanye, and Jay-Z. I think if you look at everything, longevity, dopeness, things they've just done, like Kanye was also a producer on tons of shit.
Well, Kanye changed hip-hop
like
forever.
Jay-Z, like from a business perspective and marketing and mogul, like what he came from and his longevity and staying power, crazy for the culture.
Yeah.
And like Eminem obviously is self-explanatory for, you know, the white boy that came in with the bleached hair and just like with Dr. Dre and did all this crazy shit and signed 50 Cent, like just has done so much and is still selling shit tons of records today.
Right. Yeah.
Whether you like what he's making today or not.
Right.
And then I have to, at this point, add Drake to the list.
Wow.
I mean, wow, he had that ready. He's just, even though, because you can say by the time Drake hangs it up, or by the time he's as old as some of these other guys, I think you can put him in there right now based off of what he's done. But by the time he's their age,
he'll be there.
So to me, that's
and
like,
he moves really well in this day and age.
Yeah, I know. He's done it all.
Say.
And his numbers speak for themselves.
He doesn't do the most. He doesn't like whatever. He knows when to drop. He knows when to like shut the fuck up too.
And it's crazy, man. Like, he has been the guy in rap since like basically damn near a decade now.
Yep.
I mean, probably what? It's been his game for 5 years, I would say. So I don't want to say damn near a decade. Like, it's been hands down Drake's game for at least 5 years, probably 5 or 6, maybe 7. I don't know, but it's like, and there's no comparison because you look at someone like a Kanye. He was always battling whether it was like 50 Cent or Jay-Z or whatever. Like, a lot of these guys can't just straight up say rap is my game hands down for this period of time.
Right.
Drake can say that.
No, I know.
So, okay. So not to get too sidetracked, that's my short list. Obviously, I struggled with not putting Wayne on there. He would be like the next guy. Biggie and Pac are up there. Nas is up there.
Yeah.
Snoop is up there. Rakim. I think Kendrick has a chance to be there when he's done, by the time he's done.
Yeah, I would say so too.
But that's my short list.
I think Kendrick probably will be there.
Yeah, I think he will be too. I think he'll be the next guy in line.
Yeah.
So then I took that a step further then, and I was like, okay, if those are the guys, that's how I'm kind of going to look at the music that was released then. And so I look at like the 2007 to 2013 type era, and all those guys are in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And even some of the other guys I listed, you know, Snoop, Wayne, Kendrick, even like Outkast, you know, Andre, and like, so all these people are in it, which is big for that era right there, because there's not a lot of eras where all that stuff is crossing over with actual good music.
Right.
So in that era, you had 2009, Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon.
Wow.
Drake, Thank Me Later, 2010.
Another one.
So Thank Me Later was 2010. I can't remember when Take Care was, but it was obviously Thank Me Later was the first one.
Okay.
Let me look real quick. Oh fuck, I just X'd out of it. But Nothing Was the Same was 2013.
Another one.
So from 2000,
that was 2013.
Yeah. So Drake's catalog is.
Yeah, that would be 2000.
So Far Gone 2009, Thank Me Later 2010, Take Care 2011, Nothing Was the Same 2013. So all of those, like basically Drake's whole from So Far Gone to Nothing Was the Same is in that period.
Yeah, wow.
So that's a huge plus because he could go down as like the biggest thing to ever hit hip hop.
Yeah.
And that involves his come up and his peak. Like, so that's big to me in when I was deciding what else did we have. J. Cole's Sideline Story, his first album came out in 2011, smack dab in the middle of that period. So, which it would have also included Born Sinner or whatever. So J. Cole is smack dab in that period.
Okay.
Wiz, Cushion OJ is 2010. So a lot of, the whole Wiz Khalifa hype and how he came up and all that is right in that period of time. Big Sean, his first album was 2011. So he's right in the middle of that period.
Yep.
Kanye, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is 2010. So he had a ton of shit. Like, let me look up his discography around that time. So Yeezus was 2013. So the back end of that. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy 2010. 808s and Heartbreak 2008. So that period takes us from 808s and Heartbreak to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to Yeezus. So that's where I really lean toward this age. Is I look at, okay, this age gave us straight up everything that we had, like building us to J. Cole, building us Drake, Kid Cudi, Wiz Khalifa, Big Sean, and we also got My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy from Kanye. Like, in my opinion, arguably his best album, one of his best albums.
Yeah.
So he was still at a peak. He was still making ill-ass music, even though he was an older generation.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we got? I got to say, 2007, one of my personal favorites, T-Pain Epiphany.
Another one.
You had Watch the Throne was 2011. So Jay-Z's still there.
Wow.
Kendrick, Section 80, 2011. Good Kid, Mad City, 2012. So boom, it gave us Kendrick. Just like Mac Miller, his kids project was 2010. And then his Best Day Ever was 2011. Jeezy, The Recession, 2008. Long Live ASAP was in there. His ASAP's first album.
Mm-hmm.
Acid Rap, Chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Because the Internet, Kid Cudi. Big Sean put out a second album. Dom Kennedy, Get Home Safely. Like, so those are obviously like a Dom, a Childish Gambino. Like, those are secondary. But the fact that you got Chance the Rapper's first big project that blew him up. You got your Big Sean, Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, Wiz, all the Kid Cudi, all those guys.
Yeah.
You got your Drake, his whole fucking come up. And then you still got Jay-Z, Wayne, and Kanye putting out good music, not just being like, we're old and we're still dropping music. They're putting out good music.
Yeah.
And Eminem's still relevant. Not dropping his best shit, but the Relapse was 2009. Recovery was 2010. Marshall Mathers LP was 2013. LP2 was 2013. Like, so not my favorite projects by him, but still a relevant figure in hip hop.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So then I started to look at, okay, to me, that's a definitive best era to me. But it just so happens to coincide with exactly what my nostalgia era would be. So I look at a lot of these guys I'm naming, like, I look at even like, I think a good example for our generation is a Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
Man on the Moon, his first album was, to me, a classic.
Mm-hmm.
So the way our generation talks about that and thinks of Kid Cudi as a result, I have to believe that there are artists like that in the 90s that people who grew up in that era think of in the exact same way, because you can't put Kid Cudi on one of the... He hasn't really done anything that dope since then.
No.
But our generation puts Kid Cudi on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Because of that album. Yeah.
But then you have to look at like a, you even look at the 90s, you have, Mos Def, Talib, like Tribe Called Quest, Wu-Tang, like Rakim, I don't know, Gangstar, and like I don't know, it's a different era, so guys didn't maybe get as big and sell as many records because hip hop wasn't as big, but I guarantee you people whose nostalgia era, who came up in the 90s, who like grew up in the 90s, would look at some of those artists and be like, "Oh, this project by them fucking classic." Like, 36 Chambers, like Black on Both Sides, Mos Def.
Yeah.
Our age, like, probably doesn't even know what that album is, but just like 20 years from now, I guarantee you, because unless Kid Cudi makes some huge comeback, I guarantee you 20 years from now, kids are not going to be like, Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon was a fucking classic.
Yeah.
They're just not going to care.
Right.
Just like we're not that familiar or don't give as many fucks about the 90s stuff as we do this stuff. So it's just natural. I think it's only natural that the nostalgia factor plays such a huge role.
No, it does, but I do think, especially when you're talking about hip hop, a lot of the people that grew up listening to 90s hip hop love to have the lyricism argument.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like when I listen to Man on the Moon, I'm not listening to it for lyrics.
No.
I'm listening to it because it was one of the best cohesive albums I've ever heard. One of the best hip hop cohesive albums I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's why I listen to it. I'm not listening because Kid Cudi's fucking spitting fire in it.
And it was a new sound. That was
for sure.
dope.
For sure, yeah. But that's what I'm saying is that's why it's hard to have a discussion like that because 90s was so lyric heavy.
Yeah.
There was none
That's
of this.
what hip hop was. It
Right.
was like a lot of boom bap.
There was none of the melodic hip hop then. Like I don't even think I can't name anybody that did melodic hip hop because it wasn't a thing.
Not to the extent that.
Not to the extent, correct.
You had like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was in the.
When
90s.
did 808? Wait, when did 808 and Heartbreak?
2008.
Okay, so 2008.
People weren't doing like melodic stuff like they are today. There was, you'd find little.
Because didn't that like set the trend? We started getting a lot of like melodic.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably on the early side of
with like the 808s and the like.
Around that era was probably when we started getting more of that stuff.
So, but that's what I'm saying is like, and I love that sound.
Yeah,
I do, and so I can't. As far as personal preference goes, I can't have an argument of what the better hip hop decade is with a person that grew up from the 90s because they don't enjoy that type of shit as much as I do.
Why don't they enjoy it? Because they grew up and were around a different style.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I catch myself being a little bit mindful of how I view the newer hip hop artists today, just because like I'm like, okay, I can feel myself as I age get less and less okay with change naturally.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I never thought that I would get that way.
Yeah.
But I have. So I tend to want to take a step back when I'm talking about these new guys and everything. But especially because I'm a person that makes music still, it's really hard for me to give the benefit of the doubt to these guys, knowing when I hear an interview like Yachty gave, being like, if I want to make a song with ya 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 over a dope ass beat, and that's considered dope to him.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I can't wrap my head around that.
I agree.
One.
I agree when it comes to that with the new age stuff, but I'm saying with the old age, with the lyrical stuff, because you could say the same thing, like the same way you make fun of the new age with their lyrics, but they have dope production. You could go back to the 90s and a lot of times, not everything, but a lot of times you could clown the production compared to,
for sure.
Like when you look at like a My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy production, compared to like, the Slim Shady LP.
Yeah. You know what? You know what though? That's why I would say, what did you say? 2007 to 2013?
Yeah, something like that.
That's actually a great, because I even just looked up like Twitter growth between 2010 to 2017. Guess when it started to just go from like this to like this? What year?
Probably, I would say like 2010.
Yep. At the end of 2010 going into 2011.
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't that big.
Yeah,
until
smack
like,
dab in the middle. And that's why I think we got so much crossover of so many artists. When you had Kid Cudi, J. Cole, Big Sean, Drake,
and so
Kendrick.
Being that as it is, according to this chart, they were on the tail end of when it really started to get absurdly flooded.
Well, and you know what? With the internet and social media and stuff, even though that 2008 to 2013 era, I was listing like those guys, like J. Cole gave us Sideline Story, his first album in 2011. Drake gave us Thank Me Later, his first album in 2010. Kid Cudi in 2009. Kendrick, Good Kid, Mad City was 2012. Okay, so you said Twitter really popped off in 2010. internet was really popping off between 2007 and 2010 as far as making music independently and stuff. Wiz gave us Kush and OJ in 2010. So I think a reason you have so many dope projects and artists then is because even you look at like, how did J. Cole get to Sideline Story in 2011? How did Drake get to Thank Me Later in 2010?
Yeah.
They were dropping mixtapes because they could. They didn't have to wait on a label or whatever. They were dropping mixtapes, getting noticed, getting signed behind the scenes, and then coming out with the album. While you got someone like Wiz, Kush and OJ drops in 2010 because Wiz felt like dropping a mixtape.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't have to rely on like, oh, I got to wait for my turn from the label.
Right.
Guys were just putting music out for the first time ever.
You want to know when GarageBand came out?
2007?
Earlier.
4.
January 2004.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing, because, okay, you release it, people got to learn it, and then people got to get good at it.
So did I convince you of my opinion, or did you have what did you
No,
come to
that's
the
exactly
conclusion of?
what I would take your opinion a step further, though, because yes, I'm biased because of the nostalgia factor of everything. But there's another side of that you could potentially say that 2007 to 2013 was when old meshed with new the best.
Yeah.
It was the culmination of everything coming in hip hop.
I agree.
And it was like the production and the lyrics meshed the best. And this is not to say that like in the 90s you didn't have great lyricists. Maybe better lyricists that we don't, can't even compare to today. I don't know. But as far as the music in general, combining with it all, I have to say that production and lyrics just meshed the best in 2007 to 2013. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I will say,
and it's more so just a personal opinion. It's a little factor of them because technology, everything else just culminated into this one period of time.
Yeah, it all came together and gave us a ton of dope shit. Because I even look at, I think you can take the top artists and look at what they dropped and look at like what albums came out of a certain decade, and then it gets difficult. Because if you look at the 90s, you have like Ready to Die, Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, The Chronic, All Eyes on Me, Doggy Style, Slim Shady LP, Outkast, like ATLians. So those are like top big names. I'm talking Outkast, Eminem, Snoop, Pop, Biggie, Dre, Jay-Z, Nas. In the 2000s, you get, The Blueprint, the Black Album. You got Kanye's whole college dropout, late registration, and graduation. All like that's huge to me as a huge Kanye fan. And you got Eminem with Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem Show. You got Get Rich or Die Trying, which to me is a top 3 album of all time. And Lil Wayne in his prime. So that was tough for me. Like if I just looked at what the top albums of that time were, I think 2000 to 2010, to me, maybe that might have given us more than just the era I said as far as classic albums. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
But when you go to that next level, you had like, I don't know, Dipset, Clips, Jeezy, Cameron.
Yeah.
Like, then when I go to the era I was talking about, because, okay, I go back to who did I say are the top, the Mount Rushmore. I said Eminem, Kanye, Jay-Z, Drake. Mm-hmm. So in the 2000 to 2010, we didn't have Drake,
right?
Basically.
Yep.
But those other 3 were in their primes.
Yeah.
So they got a pretty damn good argument there. Like, as far as that being the greatest era, 2000 to 2010. But when you try to look at it as a whole and take it that next step further, okay, take those 3, Jay-Z, M, and Kanye. M from 2007 to 2013 very fallen off. Still prevalent, still a relevant figure, but very fallen off as far as the music he was putting out.
Yeah.
Kanye, I would say a slight notch down, but not much.
Right.
Because those first 3 albums he put out are classics. Like, you would say that was peak Kanye.
Yeah, for sure.
But 808s, I'm a huge My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy fan. So he was still, and Watch the Throne, he was still very relevant. Jay-Z, I would say similar to Kanye. Like, still putting out, still very relevant, still dope music, but not what he was in 2000 to 2010, like that era.
Yeah.
But then when you add in what that next level of hip hop was in the era I'm talking about compared to 2000 to 2010,
yeah,
like, there's just way too much there, and that's when it overtakes with all those guys, like all the Drake, Big Sean, J. Cole, Kendrick, Wiz, like all these guys. I think because, like we just said, when I look at that greatest and I say Drake is in there too, who he wasn't even there in 2000, 2010, and Kendrick is probably the next guy. He'll be the 5th guy by the time he started to become relevant. Yeah. So all of those guys are there. Right. Even though some of them might not be at their greatest, whatever. Right. I just think that takes the cake.
No, I definitely agree. I think that's the thing is when you look at the older eras, there's great aspects to them. Yeah. But I do think that era that you just said, 2007 to 2013, you have to just understand that, like, all of it came together in the best possible way. And now we're getting the flooding afterwards that's causing all of this easy cop-out music that is attached to the person and not the music. And that's kind of what you get as a result. Yeah. Like, that's the natural next step.
Yeah, so what do you think of, like, so the next era would be like a 2014 to now? Because you still have Kanye still putting out music. Like, we have Life of Pablo in that era. Jay-Z still putting out music. We have 444 in that era. Eminem is still putting out music. Granted, in my opinion, not good music, but still a figure in hip hop. Drake is still at his peak. Yep. You know, Views is in that time. Yeah. You know, and his mixtape, like, if you're reading this, it's too late. Whatever the one with Future is, I can't even think of the name right now. But so he's still relevant. Forest Hills Drive, I want to say, was 2014.
Yeah, I think it was
14 or 15. Yeah.
I think 14.
So that's in there. So all those Kendrick, you know, To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn are in there. Yep. So those guys are all very much at their peaks. Yeah. In this era, and then that next wave, even though you have your Uzis and Yachties and stuff who we might not love and who we figure to be flashes in the pan, like, you know, Lil Pump, all those guys, Tekashi 6ix9ine, like, we don't see the staying power in them, which we could be proven wrong. And if they do have staying power, then we might have to go back and revisit this in a few years. But you do still
staying power as in what though?
Like they're still selling records like they are now 5 years from now.
Here's my only...
But then let me just finish my thought.
Okay.
Even though you have those guys, you also still have guys like Logic, Future, guys like that are the next level as far as what we think right now of the new age, you know, then under the J. Cole, Big Sean, like Big Sean's another one who's still dropping dope records, but under that level, who might not, like, if you look at a lot of stuff as far as, I think Future's a very interesting one as far as the new age, because he has numbers wise and popularity wise, he's been huge, and I think his sound definitely contributed a lot to birthing a lot of these younger guys right now, but he's the one that definitely has had this staying power.
Yeah. I would argue that Future is more lyrical though than, like, I'm not saying lyrical as
than some of these guys.
Than some of these, like, you put them. I do, because that's the thing is I can actually stand listening to Future.
There was a while where I couldn't.
No, I know. But okay, this is to say that, like, I'm not listening to Future in my whip. Like, I'm not putting him on when I want to listen to shit.
Yeah.
If someone else has him on, I don't want to kill myself listening to him.
Yeah, I like Future now. You know, not as much as I like these other guys, but he's a very interesting one to me when it comes to this generation, because on one hand, I could see him, depending on how he finishes his career, I could see him going down as one of the most like influential, super important figure in hip hop, just when you look at the way this generation is going now.
Yeah.
In hip hop.
Yeah.
Or you could look at it as like he was kind of the godfather of this flash in the pan era, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And he would still be like an important figure when you just go down the timeline of hip hop, but not as big as if it goes the other way.
But here's kind of my thing with the only thing that would stop this type of rap from just being a flash in the pan is the social media trends.
Mm-hmm.
Because these guys can sell records based on the fact that they are people that other people attach to.
Right.
You don't need to make dope music in this era for people to buy your records if you're an influencer like that.
That's true. And it's gonna be seen. That's a good point, because a lot of times before all this social media stuff and people blowing up off of just their personality online, you'd maybe have someone drop a classic album and then maybe they'd put out one or two that weren't so good and they're gone.
Right.
Whereas now, the music doesn't even have to be that dope as long as you do some big publicity stunt before you drop your album.
Exactly.
It's gonna sell.
Yeah.
And nowadays you like it's getting tough to judge, like, because if I'm not a fan of Tekashi 6ix9ine or Lil Uzi, if I'm not a fan of their music,
yep, but
I'm smart enough to recognize that, like, maybe I'm just not a fan, it doesn't mean it's whack. Maybe it's just the new generation and that's what people like.
Mm.
So I end up going to the numbers. I'm just like, okay, but it sold well, so who am I to say?
Mm-hmm.
But that goes to what I just said about, like, did it just sell well because, like, did it sell well because it's really dope music? But I don't know. It had to have, because so much of this day is streams and stuff too. So people keep listening to these songs.
Yeah. No.
So it isn't just that they pulled some publicity stunt and got a bunch of records sold because they're wilding out. People are going on their phones in their cars and playing these songs.
Yeah. But why are they playing? Here's my thing. Like,
they're easily influenced.
Jake Paul is signed.
Oh, God.
Okay, so this is a great example because Jake Paul does not make dope music. Okay?
Are you kidding me? I got a feature request out to him right now.
Oh my God. I'm gonna nix that right in the butt.
Obviously kidding.
No, but that's a great example though. And he's selling records.
Right. Yeah, like, people are actually listening to this.
And a lot.
But isn't his fan base, like, aren't the people listening like 6-year-olds?
Does it matter?
It does in the conversation we're having.
Why? If we're literally just talking about records sold.
No, I know, if we're literally just talking about that, but I'm trying to have a real conversation about what is actually, because hip hop has always been like, a lot of it is what are high school and college kids listening to.
Yeah.
If we're actually talking about selling records to 6-year-olds,
his fan base is not 6-year-olds though. It's like,
what is that's I
it's like middle school to high school.
So it's just like one step down from what your typical hip hop,
yeah, like
fan is.
Barely, yeah.
I mean, maybe that's genius. He tapped into the grade school market that people.
Well, they're more influential, or more influenced based off of a celebrity.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my point, though. Is it's like these guys do these insane things that have personalities outside of music.
Yeah.
And they release a song or a few songs, and all of their fans just drop everything to go buy it and then play it all the time, because it's not that this song is dope, it's that they like the person.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same way why my friends would play my music when it was fucking garbage.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the scary part of this whole social media thing, is that, like, there's no metric to, like, measure this based off of, like, is it really dope music or is it just because they're influential?
Yeah. I think one of the most important points you made about trying to compare generations, and why when we look at the new stuff, we always have to ask the question, like, are we just getting older so we don't like just like how we like Kanye and Eminem and people before us like, Nas and, even Jay-Z, those a little older, but like Biggie and Pac and whatever. But I think one of the best points you made was lyrics have always stood the test of time.
Yeah.
They've always been, when you look at the top people, lyrics are always relevant and enjoyed in hip hop. It's it's essential to the fabric of hip hop.
Yes.
And you can straight up look at this new stuff we're talking about and say there are no lyrics.
Yes.
And so that's, I think, why you can try to actually technically point to this is why it won't last, this is why it's not dope, as opposed to just saying it's just not my favorite.
Right. That's why I'm kind of just like, but that's the thing is like, we can't have this discussion if we're talking about album sales.
Yeah. And that's why I could actually, like, I'm a huge Kid Cudi fan. I think Man on the Moon is one of the best albums of all time. If someone who likes hip hop or whatever listened to Man on the Moon and told me, I don't like this isn't dope, I would be like, what? I can't believe that. But I would be able to understand.
Yeah, for sure.
If someone listened to, I don't know, like J. Cole and told me, I don't like this is whack, but they're a hip hop fan, I would be like, okay, you cannot like it, but you literally can't call it whack.
Yeah.
It's like, it's good hip hop. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
It cannot be your favorite. You cannot personally like it.
Yeah. You cannot relate to it.
But it is good hip hop.
Yeah,
like if you just look at, I don't know what the definition of hip hop is, if you like broke it down on what is a good, like what makes a good rapper.
Yeah.
But J. Cole is a good rapper.
Yeah.
He makes good hip hop music, whether you love it or you hate it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But like a Kid Cudi is like the melodic whatever. It's new. I love it, but I could understand someone being like, nah, this ain't hip hop. Like,
well, yeah, for sure. As far as like the J. Cole thing and stuff, like there's a lot of people that don't like J. Cole, and in order to have like a intellectual hip hop conversation with that person, they have to separate. Is it because you can't relate, or is it because it's actually bad?
Right, and that's huge. Like, right. I think I'm the biggest Kendrick fan there is. He won a Grammy for To Pimp a Butterfly. I don't like To Pimp a Butterfly.
I don't either.
I honestly don't like it that much, even sonically, because he did go a different direction.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of like jazz influence. But the biggest reason that I don't like it is I can't relate to it.
Right.
It's very much like black empowerment.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't relate to it.
Right.
Doesn't make it bad.
It doesn't make it a bad.
And that's what I always tell people. I listen to that album all the way through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can say that is a dope album. Like I can see why it won a Grammy.
How it was put together and
very well crafted.
Sure.
But there was one song on that I would go back and listen to, and it was all right. That was it.
It's kind of the same thing with the Kid Cudi thing, as far as like I listened to that album, very relatable to me. Like what he's talking about throughout the entire thing is relatable, and the way that it got put together was awesome. So therefore, in my head, it's a great hip hop album.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's why
it checked off both boxes. It checked off that I was able to relate, and sonically and everything like that, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's why T-Pain Epiphany is the greatest album of all time, because I can relate to it. Literally all he's talking about is drinking and girls. That's literally all he talked. Like his hits on Epiphany were Tipsy, Bartender, Buy You a Drink.
Yeah, I mean, hits.
Those were the three big singles off that project.
Hits.
Tipsy, Bartender, and Buy You a Drink.
Hits.
I can relate.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, and it was a good album. Like it was, but that's the thing is, I don't know. I feel like people need to separate though, that like I can separate To Pimp a Butterfly is a great example, because sonically and hip hop wise, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. Like it's a great album. But as far as me personally throwing it on in my car
Yeah. So
I'm not doing that.
you know how I just bringing up that T-Pain thing made me think another reason why I think that 2007 to 2013-14 era is the best. You know how we said it's the best crossover of just the different eras of hip hop coming together.
Yeah.
Not sonically, but literally those guys.
Yeah.
You had your Kanye and Jay-Z, and you had your Drake and, Kendrick. I think also those sounds that are the biggest sounds in hip hop, you had your lyrical, more typical hip hop sounds that like a Big Sean, a J. Cole, a Kendrick, and then obviously still Jay-Z and Kanye were doing.
Yeah.
But you also had Drake, who was bringing this singy shit in.
Yeah.
You had T-Pain and Cudi, who were bringing this whole, and even Kanye, who were bringing this whole auto-tune melodic, which ever since has been a huge aspect of hip-hop.
Yeah.
But that's the first time, like, T-Pain is the godfather of that shit. And he was coming into the game, and like I said, you had your Cudi melodic, and all those guys started to do that shit.
Yeah.
And so not only just artist-wise did you have the biggest crossover of the eras, you had the biggest sounds all coming together. And I will say, when T-Pain auto-tune, when that came around, I think most hip-hop people thought, that's cool right now, but that's a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
It wasn't. That's huge in hip-hop now. It's bigger now than it was then.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the more I think about it, the more I think it's just hands down when you look at all aspects.
Yeah, but the thing is, I totally agree with you. The bottom line, though, is if someone was to argue that, you need to urge them to like look at it from not only like from a feel standpoint, but from a technical standpoint as well, because a lot of people that are fans of different eras of stuff only look at one aspect.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you want to look at what classic albums came out of a period, okay, that makes it more of an argument. But when you look at all different aspects,
but that's the thing is, like, you can't even have the classic album discussion, because albums are classic for different reasons.
I know, but all of this stuff is debatable.
No, I know, but literally, I think we came up with a tangible thing that, like, I don't feel like if you're at all musically inclined at all and understand music, the production and the lyrics came together in the best possible way in 2007 to 2013. Not just on a personal level for me, but in a technical sense as well.
And gave us shit tons of artists.
Right.
And still kept our favorite artists.
Think about the way that music is being made.
Yeah, and still kept our favorite artists around. Because honestly, you always think about the internet age birthing all these artists. Honest question, I don't know the answer, but do you think without the internet age that Kanye and Jay and Eminem would still be around selling all the records they have if not for the internet?
Definitely not.
I think
Kanye.
they would have been pushed aside by the labels by now. Like, you're too old. We're making room for new.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the internet age has allowed them to still be the figures that they are. I think because that's why you don't necessarily see, which there's not a long sample size because hip hop hasn't been around that long, but I don't think you saw guys lasting as long as Jay-Z.
No.
Back in the day. Like, there's no way.
No. But those guys don't even get birthed, though. Especially, like, you look at Kanye. Like, Kanye isn't Kanye without the age of the internet.
Yeah. I mean, even Drake, even though he was signed early and got on early with Wayne and stuff like that, he still gives tons of credit to the internet, like YouTube and MySpace days.
You have to.
Yeah. So, and I know Wiz was huge on the internet when he came up.
Yeah.
All these guys like J. Cole and Big Sean came up off of mixtapes, which get spread around organically through social media and the internet.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I think we came to conclude that was a nice long debate.
No, yeah, I mean, and we're in agreement.
I know, yeah. But I guess we didn't necessarily. I think we hit a great era of hip hop. I think it's the best era of hip hop, and I would definitely argue anyone that disagreed. I don't think we necessarily came to a conclusion on nostalgia though.
No, because I don't think
we determined that the greatest era was our nostalgia era. So we can't say definitively like nostalgia.
No. But that's why, and it's tough, and anyone could argue it, and there's not a right or a wrong answer.
Yeah.
But I do think the technical thing that we attach that to, along with the nostalgia aspect of everything for us.
Yeah.
I would like to hear that argument.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think that, like, I mean, no one can tell me that, like, production was on the level in the 90s that it is in the 2000s. Like, you can't tell me.
And even
that.
if you want to just go through artists and projects and start naming them off and doing like equivalents.
Right.
Like, I think you would run out in other eras way quicker than you would in the era
I'm
we're
sure
talking
that
about.
somebody could give me tons of people that are better lyricists than J. Cole in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. But for it to all come together like it did in the 2000s, it's I don't see there being an example in the 90s of that.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take fan questions?
Sure, why not?
All
Come on,
right,
T.
let's do it.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for taking my call. This is Matt from Whitewater, Wisconsin. I have a question regarding like why some of the songs aren't on things like Spotify and Apple Music. Some of the Spec 16s, like Northside Remix, My City Remix. I'm just curious why those aren't on there, and then also songs like No Turnovers and Girls Who Think I Like, although I believe that's the one with the Bryson Tiller beat, so I guess that makes sense as why that one might not be on there. So mostly the Spec 16s that use your guys' beats from other music, I'm just curious as to why those aren't available on platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you. Have a good day.
So this is a question we get all the time. And I answer it here and there on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, so I think it's good to answer it here too. And he kind of touched on it. Most of the time, it's just a beat thing. It's do we own the rights to the beat?
Right.
And if we don't, then that's why it's only available for free on, SoundCloud or whatever. It's not available on digital stores where we can make money. The only one that I had a question about, and I'm glad he mentioned Spec 16s because I know a lot of you guys love those, and we would have the rights to most of those. But that was the whole idea of Spec 16s was this is just a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of Spec 16s is we do the video to them, and if you want to hear them or watch them, whatever, you go to YouTube. It's just kind of an exclusive thing that was the idea.
And guys, keep in mind too, when we birthed Spec 16s, the streaming stuff wasn't as big as it is now. So when we came up with the idea, we were never going into it thinking that there would be a potential to put these on streaming sites. Yeah.
And now, even though, we could go put Spec 16s on those tomorrow. But since they're not new, I know some of you guys would like to listen to them or whatever, but it's just not, it's not worth throwing them up there to muddy up the pages and shit.
Yeah.
But the only one that made me think was No Turnovers, because we do have the right to that beat. The only thing I could think was, I don't know if we had the track outs to that beat, and I want to say the mix wasn't that great.
Yeah, I think it was because it was an older beat that you downloaded a long time ago.
Somebody sent it to me, a producer that I knew emailed it to me, but he didn't have the track outs.
That's probably why.
And so we couldn't get the mix perfectly right. So that's why that one didn't go up there. And then Girls You Think I Like, we actually have the rights to that. I got that beat before Bryson Tiller's song actually came out. So I have every right to put that up, but because Bryson Tiller's song was so big, we just didn't even want to make it a thing. We were just like, well, I have this song, I want to put it out. I didn't plan on having it be, parentheses, don't remix, because I just made the song before Bryson Tiller's shit was even out.
Right.
And but we just decided when we rolled it out, we'll just do don't remix, because everyone knows that beat now. And there's no point in me being like, hey, here's my new song. It just happens to be over Bryson Tiller's beat, but I swear I had it before. Like, whatever. You just roll with the punches. And I didn't want to put a remix out on the digital stores and just even deal with that. So that's why that one's not up there. But yeah, it's mostly just beat rights. And you know why now that the Spec 16s aren't up there.
What up, Packy? Not Packy Rap. What up, Mo?
Perfect.
There's another guest. Hello, guest. Anyway, this is Alexander from Alabama, and quick question.
Alexander calls in all the time.
This was not my original concept. Wish it was, but I saw it off of a YouTube comment, so shout out to whoever originally posted this. Is there a possibility of Moti either making or just having a beat ready for the show and playing it, and then Packy freestyling over it live? If that's possible, how likely would it be that it could be on the podcast? And any feedback or suggestions you guys would have to add on that idea would be appreciated. I think that would be dope. Anyways, keep up the good work, and hope to listen to new music coming soon.
So we actually did that a lot in the past. Mo would bring the beat pad and do a beat live, and I would rap over it. But we stopped when all of a sudden, whatever the hookup was, it was everything Mo was doing was lagging live when he would try to actually do the beat live. And obviously that throws everything off, and it was just like, okay, we don't even want, it's not even worth doing this anymore if it's going to throw off the show. So that's when we stopped doing that live. After that, we've still done plenty of times come in with a beat and I'll quote unquote freestyle over it. I'll never be the actual old school freestyle rapper, like off the top. But this day and age, what a freestyle is, yeah, I'll write something that you'll only hear at that show or something like that. So I've done that, and then that kind of over time became more, I prefer doing the acapellas, because just to me personally, the whole reason for doing that is like, if I write something with a bunch of bars and punchlines and stuff that I want people to hear, they can kind of get drowned out by whatever beat is going on. So I a lot of times like to just do an acapella and showcase my lyrical ability and bars and stuff. So, and I did that at the last show I did, an acapella. But yeah, it's an option. We've done it before, but yeah, there's reasons we don't do it at every show or haven't done it in a while. But yeah, that's a good
I think
thought.
he was talking about like a segment on the podcast, though, like to do that.
Oh, for real? I thought he was talking about live shows.
No.
Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for letting me go on a whole talk about it.
Well, it was a good topic, but that's
okay.
That's
I don't know. Maybe eventually we'll do some like music stuff on the podcast but for now, like that's not really what we wanted this to be.
Yeah, we kind of wanted this to be like outside of what we normally would do at like a show or like whatever. It's a podcast for us to discuss certain things and kind of beyond what we normally do with music.
If we wanted to do something like that, we'd probably just film it and put it out as its own video.
Yeah.
And not just put it in the podcast. So
Right.
the podcast, you're going to get us talking about topics and things like that. So no.
All right.
Yo, Pack and Mo. This is Nathan from Rockford, Illinois. And I was just wondering, what was your experience the first time you heard your music play on the radio? Did you guys know that? Like, how did you guys find out that first is going to get played? And then second, like, how hyped up were you when that all occurred? I mean, that's my question for you guys. And thanks a lot for all the podcasts. I'm enjoying them.
So the only time I've heard my music on the radio, we already knew about it because it was like something that we won. And it's like, hey, your music's going to be played on the radio.
Yeah.
And so that's how we knew about it, and we heard it. And it's dope. It's like, hey, I'm on the radio. But at the end of the day, it isn't as great when it's not just like played because it's a hit song or something like that,
right.
Or played, when it's just like, hey, a friend of mine is the DJ and he's going to spin my song once, and when it's not like on the biggest radio station in New York or something like that. Or if you win a contest and you have a song of yours get played, it's always cool, but it's not as dope as it just being in rotation.
Right.
I would imagine because I've never had that happen. But I will say probably a better comparison. And I've seen fans tweet and stuff sometimes like, hey, just heard blah, blah, blah on the radio, like wherever they live.
Mm.
I always wonder like if they really did, like if they just got mistaken.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because so much goes into behind the scenes getting your song on the radio. Like sometimes there's DJs that can just pick to play songs.
Right.
And that's probably when they hear it, if they hear it.
Right.
So it's never in just a rotation in a city or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. But probably a better comparison is the first time one of my songs was on TV.
Yeah.
Especially like the first take when Static was on First Take after we dropped the parlay.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was
because that's a show that I've watched. Like I know tons of people watch. It's ESPN. Who doesn't know about ESPN? And it was played for like 20 seconds, something like that. You could hear the lyrics. I mentioned like streets in my hometown in the clip that they played and stuff like that.
Mm.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little more of a vibe than hearing it on the radio.
Yeah.
When I did.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Wyatt from Birmingham, Alabama. Roll Tide. Got two questions for you.
Alabama
First
in
one,
the house.
Packy, shouldn't you be getting more attention?
Next question. Floss?
And the next one, what is your guys' go-to gas station snack, including food and drink?
Good question. Mo? That's tough. I'm trying to think of when we're on tour and stuff like that. When we're always
I know for sure on tour it's always Red Bull because you're constantly trying to like stay awake and be energized and stuff.
I remember the first tour we went on, I was not a coffee drinker. I wasn't an energy drink drinker. I didn't take Adderall, like none of that shit. I didn't drink pop. And I was trying to get through tour, just drinking a bunch of water and being healthy, whatever. And I remember relatively early on, I was like, okay, I need to have a Red Bull. Not that I'd never had one before, but I didn't drink them religiously. Yeah. And I finally, like, that point on throughout tour, I was hooked on Red Bull because it worked. It gave me the energy I needed, whatever.
Right.
But just like anything else over time, like it wears off and stops giving you as much energy, and it's just not worth it.
Especially when you're on tour for a month. It's like,
it's so bad. Like all that sugar and shit like that. You get the energy, but you feel like shit.
Right.
But yeah, tour is a lot of Red Bull. Coffee is a go-to. I like when I go to gas stations, I don't do the hot brew. I like to grab a cold brew out of the fridge.
Whack.
Now who you fooling with that wax shit?
Damn, you've been coming prepared. Cue the bars. Shout out Cue the Bars.
Hot coffee is where it's at.
I'm not at a gas station. I like, as far as snacks.
Have you ever tried hot coffee at a gas station? Like Speedway? Speedway has fire coffee.
No, I'm not saying they don't. That's just not normally what I like. I have coffee at the crib. If I'm out and I'm stopping at a gas station,
Gotcha.
I probably started my day with a hot cup of coffee, so I'm like normally not getting another one at a gas station.
Yeah.
I'm a cold beverage guy too. I really like a cold beverage. A lot of ice in my drinks.
I mean, I am too with everything but coffee.
Yeah. Snacks. See, I like beef jerky, but it's so fucking expensive.
It's way
like
too
I can't get myself to be like, well, I could get a whole pizza or this bag of beef jerky.
It's more like you could get a hot and ready from Little Caesars.
Oh yeah,
for $5, or I could get this bag of jerky for $8.
Yeah, and it gives you like three.
And
pieces
there's three
of jerky.
pieces of jerky in there.
Yeah. I don't know. Other than that, just pretty basic. Like whatever. I don't really get chips very often from gas stations. I'll get like certain types of Chex Mix sometimes.
Chex Mix is good. I get Chex Mix a lot from gas stations.
Yeah, you're a Chex Mix guy.
Yeah.
You like pretzels more than the average person.
Pretzels are good. Yeah, I don't really get chips a lot though.
Actually, surprisingly, for how much you like candy and sweet tarts and stuff like that, I never really see you get those. I see you get stuff like Chex Mix a lot more at gas stations than candy.
It just lasts longer.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to be in the car for a while. It's like, what do I want? This little tiny candy bar that'll last me like
3 bites.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm big when it comes to food. I really enjoy food. So I like to, that's one of the reasons nachos is one of my favorite foods. Not only is it amazing, but it lasts you so long. You can just pick out, you could watch a whole ball game and pick out a plate of nachos.
That's true. Yeah.
Whereas if I get like a pizza or a burger, it's like 3 minutes and I'm done.
And you got to eat it fast because it gets cold and stuff. Yeah. No, I know. Not, if you're going to be sitting there for like hours, nachos.
Just something to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like an activity. Good question. I like those random ass questions.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
That's it.
Wait, I didn't check Twitter this morning.
Oh, okay.
Let me quick do that. Just
I know you watched the Masters because I was with you yesterday. Patrick Reed, congratulations. I know your wife was looking up information about Patrick Reed and found some random stuff like he's apparently estranged from his family.
Yeah.
And like he kicked him out of one of the tournaments. Like they came to try to watch and he kicked him out.
Yeah, she was painting him up to be a real dope guy.
Yeah, like he got married and I guess he's just like with his wife's family now and like hates his old family. They claim they like abused him and stuff, but his family and his other siblings say that never happened and shit like that. So I don't like hard to know what to believe in a lot of those situations.
I don't know.
Somebody's really whack, either his family or him.
Who knows?
But whatever, congratulations to him. Hope he's not whack because I don't want any whack people to win the Masters. Best golf tournament out there. Yeah. I definitely was pulling for Ricky. When Spieth was making his charge, I wanted him to pull it out. Amazing last round by Spieth.
Mm-hmm.
Ahead of the time, I picked Leishman in a contest, and he was in second place going into the weekend and absolutely shit the bed over the weekend. My dad had Rory McIlroy, who was obvious. All he had to do was get top 3 to win, and he was obviously in great position going into the last day in second place with a few stroke lead even on third, and he shit the bed and dropped out of the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
So wasn't the greatest as far as who I wanted and who we had stake in, but
yeah,
whatever. It was entertaining. Spieth made it entertaining because honestly, Rory shitting the bed, and like you weren't even thinking about Ricky till late.
Yeah, he was like steadily just like
he was making a lot of pars and stuff, and then all of a sudden he turned it on late.
On the TV broadcast, like they were not showing his birdies.
No. Yeah.
It was weird.
Maybe, or we just...
Because all of a sudden they would show him on a shot and you were like, when did he get to 12 under or like whatever?
Maybe you just weren't paying attention.
No, I was.
Yeah, but it was entertaining at least because Reed could have run away with it, but he didn't. What else? I haven't listened to new Cardi B, have you?
No.
You're not really into that?
No.
I'll check it out this week. New Drake song, you like it or not?
I like it. You know, the biggest thing that stood out to me in that one is there's no bass line.
Didn't even think about it.
Which is very rare for hip hop today.
Didn't even think about it.
It's all just hard kicks. But it's very, very 90s because of that, though.
Motherfucking representing
That's
here
interesting.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's literally no like 808 or like bass.
Just a kick.
It's literally it's a hard kick. But
it's a dope ass sample too, and it's a big sample. So it's like the beat is still full.
But still, like
I know it's weird. Yeah.
You could hear an 808 in your head if you want to put it in there. But
I really like it. I think it's dope, and I think it. I like it because so many people like Drake's obviously the biggest artist of our time. And a lot of people like to nitpick and say he just makes the same thing over and over. As opposed to you look at like a Kanye and love him or hate him, he's always trying to push the envelope.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we agree or disagree. I'm saying that's something you hear. That's like a knock that you hear a lot. And
really?
Yeah, and even some of the different stuff think about his albums. A lot of people say Drake just goes and like recreates the same vibe every album. As opposed to you look at like a Kendrick drops Good Kid, Mad City, and then he drops To Pimp a Butterfly. And even damn, you look at those 3 albums, they're all like very different. Whereas I think you look at Drake, you can maybe say Take Care had a little bit of a different vibe. But if you look at like, you know, Nothing Was the Same and Views and Thank Me Later and even Take Care, like a lot of people accuse him of just having a lot of similar stuff. But the argument on the other side is, even if you want to say he has a lot of similar stuff, he keeps doing a dope job of it, and that's what's successful.
I think he keeps reinventing him. He keeps reinventing his same style, though. Like,
I agree with you.
Like,
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's a popular knock you hear about it.
Because even on my ride home from Grand Rapids, I put in like Apple Music's like "This Is Drake" playlist.
Yeah,
and I was like, from what was his first album called?
Thank Me Later.
Thank Me Later. Thank Me Later to like Take Care to Nothing Was the Same. Like, yeah, he's like talking about kind of the same shit, and like there's certain aspects of it that are the same, but the sound in general, there's shit that he reinvents.
I agree.
And you can tell that those are from different albums.
I'm with you, and not to mention, if I like an artist, I don't want a Yeezus from Drake. That's not what I want. Well, if I like you, I want you to be you and make the music you make that I like.
If people are using that argument, I mean, shouldn't they not be able to tell what song was from what album if they're not that familiar with Drake? Like, if you just put on a song, they're like, I can't tell if this was from Take Care or fucking...
Yeah. And from my personal opinion,
Views.
I think when people make that comparison, the other artists they might reference would be like, obviously Kanye #1, because he's done the random 808s and Heartbreaks, and he's done the...
Yeah, but you can't expect every artist.
I know,
to
that's
do
what I'm
that.
saying. Is other than that, you could maybe reference Kendrick with To Pimp a Butterfly, but I think when Kendrick's all said and done, To Pimp a Butterfly will be the outlier on his catalog.
For sure.
Because, you know, Damn and Good Kid, Mad City, even though, yeah, there's differences, they're more similar than To Pimp a Butterfly. And then when you look at other artists that people respect, like a Jay-Z, okay, would you say Jay-Z really switched it up a lot on his albums? No. Like, they're all different and dope in their own way, just like Drake.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is this new song, again, to me, Drake is, it's something, it's Drakey, but it's different. It's like he can do so many things.
It's different for...
It's got a real 90s feel to it.
Yeah, it's different for the time.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's the thing is, like what I just said about the bass line. Like, give me another hip-hop song, a popular hip-hop song this day and age that doesn't have an 808 in it.
Yeah. And what he does on it is dope. Like, he's just able to find pockets that other people just can't do.
Yeah.
It made me think, though, because he dropped a video with it. And it was basically just like all these celebrity women, like, women empowerment song. That's what it is. So the video matches, but it made me think, like, Drake, for being as big an artist he is, where budget for a video is not an issue. His videos over the years have not been great.
That great, yeah.
Like, they're nothing special.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, when you look at what Kendrick has done with videos.
Yeah.
And you look at what Macklemore did with videos. And you look at Drake, who's the biggest artist we have.
Yeah.
Like, the only video he has, there's 2 videos he's had that stand out to me. And they're not because they were just
it's a dope concept. It's like,
they're not because they were just so fucking dope production and idea-wise, like Kendrick's videos.
Yeah.
The 2 that stand out are God's Plan because of just what he did.
Yep.
But it's not a dope video.
No.
It's not like, let me go watch that again.
Yeah, you watch it once and you're done.
Yeah, and you're like, that's cool that he did that. It's not that the video itself is so dope.
Right.
And then Hotline Bling.
Yeah.
Because of all the little dances he was doing, and it was funny. It was humorous. It was really clever and good.
It was original.
But it wasn't like the production value and stuff like that. Right. Where you look at a Macklemore and a Kendrick and that's what they're putting in. And I just thought it was funny to think about with he's a very talented, like he hosts these award shows and does like SNL and all these skits and stuff, and he's super funny. Like, he's a well-rounded talent.
Yeah.
And he's smart and he has good marketing and everything. So it just surprises me that he's not bigger in the video department. I think probably just from a production, clever, whatever, all this shit standpoint, I think Started From the Bottom was probably his best video. Yeah. It had the little funny skit in the middle. The production was actually pretty damn good on it. Other than that, I haven't been too impressed with much from him.
Yeah,
video-wise.
I'd agree with that. But he does have a lot of basic videos.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to touch on, and it happened a while ago, was like early.
Other than just hold on, we're going home.
See, that's a good example. I forgot about that video. What were you gonna say? Because I haven't my thought on that is high production value, not a dope video.
Not a dope video, yeah. It doing the most without getting the most out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's probably why he stayed away from it since then.
Could be. Yeah, he was like, I haven't been dope on the vid game because that was on Nothing Was the Same. So he's had plenty of videos before that. And maybe that was the project he tried it on because Started From the Bottom was on Nothing Was the Same. And that was dope. And then he did the other high production. And,
the high concept.
Yeah, no, I didn't love that. And he even had like the ASAP Rocky cameo and like whatever. I wasn't fucking with it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I had that I wanted to touch on, just because it's just one of those things during the week that I was just like, wow, you got to be kidding me, is did you hear about the LeBron Saban stuff?
No.
So do you remember LeBron has his little series on Uninterrupted, like his little company with, I think they called it, what do they call it? Shop Talk or The Shop? I think maybe they called it The Shop.
Uninterrupted?
Yeah, he had like 2 Chainz and Draymond Green and I think Maverick, one of his business partners, and some other like people in there, and they just sat around in barber chairs, and it was well produced. But they just talked about different like relevant topics, whether it be sports or whatever.
Okay.
And then I guess recently, Nick Saban and Alabama have one of them, I think LeBron's is called The Shop, and Saban's and Alabama's is called Shop Talk, or vice versa. And basically, I think what it is Saban sits down with, like, I think the one that they referenced is he sat down with Julio Jones, and they just talked about shit, whatever.
Okay.
And LeBron filed a grievance for like copyright and you know, he basically a cease and desist and stuff because they were in, Saban's is called Shop Talk and LeBron's is The Shop, because basically, like, but he filed a grievance because of like the whole theme of like being in a barber shop and talking like whatever.
Okay.
To me, that's absolutely absurd. You can't like copyright talking in a barber shop.
No, that'd
and
be like
the only thing that was even close to me is the fact that the Shop Talk and The Shop.
Yeah.
But since the grievance, they changed it to Bama Cuts.
Okay.
And so to me, that's it. Like, anyone can fucking go sit in a barber shop and film it and talk.
Yeah.
But it's a thing now. Like, they're talking about but to me, it's like, no, you cannot copyright that. But they even asked LeBron about it in an interview, and he was like, he was mad about it, but he was like, yeah, we'll let the lawyers handle it. But he's serious. It's not just like some little thing. He's serious. He thinks you could probably go back not too far and be like, someone could sue LeBron because someone did it. Like, hella people have done it before LeBron.
I mean, that's like copywriting like the podcast setup.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
dumb.
That's ridiculous to me.
No, it's super
Not
dumb.
to mention, if you're really that bothered about it, you're stupid for making it like, you know, it's going to become a public thing if you are filing a grievance. You, LeBron James and Uninterrupted, are filing a grievance against Alabama and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
It's going to be a public thing, and
Right.
you're going to be asked about it. And now you just like you shed light on Alabama. I didn't know about Alabama's thing. I didn't give a shit. But now I know about it because LeBron James is talking about it and shit like that.
Exactly.
You just shed light on it and made it more of a thing now. Probably got them millions of viewers because you decided to shed a light on it. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Stupid.
But that's, you know, back to our topic about LeBron and MJ. Like, back before social media age and all these like bright lights on everything you do, like, I look at LeBron for this and I'm like, corny.
Yeah.
Jordan could have done so many things with his Jordan brand and business in the past, like things similar to this that just never came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so he just has this mystique because he doesn't have to.
It seriously makes me wonder with like these big brands that are around, like Jordan and Nike and like all this shit. Like, with social media now, like having a brand like that would stand the test of time like those companies have, I just can't see it ever happening.
Yeah, because what is one of the biggest things? Like, and I'm a huge Jordan shoes fan, and even outside of shoes, like, for some reason they still are able to just make cooler products than everyone else. It's like Jordan hoop shorts. I don't buy them because they're Jordan. Like, I don't literally buy them for the logo.
Right.
they're literally just doper than all the other shorts.
But to be a brand like that stands the test of time before social media, like companies have to step on people's toes to get to a position like that. And it was easier to do so when you didn't have to answer to Twitter.
No, yeah, that's for sure. That's real.
That's kind of crazy to think about though, because you have these like huge companies that are like, if you were trying to start a company like that now, fucking good
I mean,
luck.
like what was the United Airlines thing where like I think it was all United. They were the ones that, and I could be wrong, so hopefully I'm not slandering the wrong airline, but they dragged the passenger off the plane, and then they also had the dog die in the overhead bin, and apparently that's happened a few times.
Oh, really?
They made someone put their dog in an overhead bin, and it suffocated.
Oh, my God.
And apparently, like, and obviously Twitter catches that, and it's a huge thing. I guarantee you shit like that happened back
all
before social
time.
media, but you know what? They just handled it and made more money because no one knew about it unless you were on that plane.
Exactly.
It's fucked up. Like, that's the thing. That's why the social media stuff is good to hold people responsible.
Yeah.
But it's also bad because if it's not the right thing, it can just blow up, and like wrong information people are held responsible for because something just got
and like
viral.
one-off things are always like the biggest deal.
Yeah.
Like you could have done it a million times right before this one thing happens, and then then you're fucked.
It's the death sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have a million pets fucking live, and once that one dies, then you're literally screwed.
Yeah. Then your company's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not with airlines because they have a monopoly.
But that's what I'm saying is like now these companies can like withstand that because they're so freaking big.
Yeah.
Like if Nike comes out with something or whatever, I mean, they probably already have it in some capacity or whatever, but they're not going to die because they're freaking Nike.
Right.
They're freaking huge. Right. What would the world do without Nike?
I know.
All right. We good?
I'm good.
All right. Thanks for the questions this week, guys. You know how to submit them by now. We didn't have any Twitter questions, so don't forget that you can do that too, if you prefer.
I'm excited about the new music I'm making. I got some things for Moe to mix. I know I'm a little overdue for a single, so I will be maybe end of this week. If not this week, then for sure next week. But
I just saw a preview of Cyrus's Bathhouse music video.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw the whole thing, but it's just not color graded.
Does it look dope?
Yeah, it looks dope.
Nice.
So he's hoping that he'll be able to release that soon. So
dope.
Be on the lookout for that.
Yep. Marcus is coming through the studio tonight, right?
Yep.
He's got some things to show us.
Yep. So there should be a lot of new music coming fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna outro to the other championship song.
Pacific Time, runner up.
And let's get the heck out of here.
Trees out my window, never thought I'd be here right now. Balcony with my dream team, can't help but think it's our year right now. Girls I ain't really talk to back home, all wanna hit my phone right now, telling me that they miss me, begging me to come home right now. I know they want what they can't have, but it's good for my ego. She tell me that she love me after every glass of that vino, and I love that shit for real. Even though I don't love that chick for real. I'm on Pacific Time.